Paul Muldoon was born in 1951 in County Armagh, Northern Ireland, and educated in Armagh and at the Queen's University, Belfast. From 1973 to 86 he worked in Belfast as a radio and television presenter for the BBC. Since 1987 he has lived in the United States, where he is now Howard G.B. Clark 21 Professor at Princeton University and Chair of the Lewis Centre for the Creative and Performing Arts. Between 1999 and 2004 he was Professor of Poetry at the University of Oxford. Paul Muldoon has published numerous collections of poetry, most recently Moy Sand and Gravel in 2002, and last year Horse Latitudes. Ladies and gentlemen, the poet Paul Muldoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, what are we to make of a government that would launch an attack on its own soil? What are we to make of a government that, to all intents and purposes, is doing the equivalent, and I know here I run the risk of overstatement, of attacking simultaneously the White House, the Pentagon, the World Trade Center? All of those not simply buildings, but emblems. And even if we were talking about the fabric of Ireland, merely about the literal aspect of the soil of Ireland, we would have much to discuss here today. But we are talking not only about that literal aspect, but the metaphorical aspect, and what Tara stands for. We have a responsibility not only to those generations, as Professor Lee and Professor Heaney, for example, have suggested, we owe some kind of action to those generations. More significantly, we owe some action to the generations to come. Let me say a word or two about what has happened here. First of all, I'm pleased that this event is taking place today in New York, because this is an issue, as we've already heard, that has gone way beyond the national question. This is an issue of not only of European, but of global concern. Because what we're talking about is the understanding of who we are and where we come from. And only with that understanding, however tedious it might be, only with a sense of that can we actually go ahead. I want to say a word or two about the inheritance here. We're dealing with a situation where a member of a previous government, as he left office, signed into law the right for a minister to overrule the consideration that a site, for example, be deemed a national monument. He did that as he scurried out of office. His name, and I don't want to linger over this, but I think it may be relevant in the New York context. His name is Roach. He scurried out of office. He scurried out of office, leaving that as his inheritance to the Irish people. John Gormley is a man who, as you know, came into power in Ireland very specifically on the plank that, as the leader of the Green Party, the preservation of the integrity of Tara would be uppermost on his agenda. It was on that agenda that he was elected. The minute he got into power, forget about it. Now we know that politics has to do with the negotiation between promise and compromise. We know that. But that's not what that's about. Now, it may be, as Professor Lee suggests, that John Gormley is involved in some kind of very, very clever game, and I sincerely hope he is. I sincerely hope he is, and I hope that he's a very canny guy. But so far, all the indications suggest that he did a complete volte-face. A complete volte-face, as we now say in Ireland. And who does he think we are? Does he think that when he sets up a Green Party that he is dealing with people who are green? I don't think so. And it's time we showed these guys what's what. And time we showed politicians that when they make promises, accepting that compromise is going to be part of the deal, that they don't immediately go round and throw it all out the window. Where do they get the idea that they can act in such a high-handed manner? Let me give you a clue. They get it from the trickle-down effect of US government global positioning. This government, I would suggest to you, is a government that can do whatever it likes. And governments around the world are taking their cue from that. That is the US legacy to Ireland. Let's not be in any doubt about it. Let's not be in any doubt about it. So much has happened in Ireland that has been good in recent years. It's great to be able to go down to where Wood Quay used to be and eat in a lovely Greek taverna. Have your lovely bit of tara mazzolata. What we need to do in Ireland is to take the tara mazzolata but not forget the tara. Let me say, finally, we are here to celebrate the harp. The harp as an emblem of Ireland, an emblem, mind you, that in some sense was developed in the 19th century. It's easily, too easily, I think, pushed to one side, has been part of that Victorian influx, almost, of imagery having to do with wolfhounds, round towers, and all the rest of it. But the fact of the matter is, I think in this instance, it has a particular resonance, literally. The harp, if you think about it, the lyre, is surely a development of the longbow. Almost certainly, as a hunter was about to shoot his whatever, deer, and heard that twang, in the midst of it, he thought, well, there's a twang, and that reminds me of another one. And somewhere, this may be a rather basic notion of how music started, but there's something in it, surely. But even if there's not, you know what? Even if there's not, today there is. Because what I want to suggest to you is that though in many cases, I have resisted the notion that the longbow and the lyre be related. In this instance, I firmly believe that the poets of Ireland, the lyrists, the harpists, have got to make a stand along with everyone else on this issue. Because frankly, if this is the era in which the US is going to be remembered in 30 or 40 years' time, just as we remember the Second World War for the injustice of what was done to Japanese American citizens. This era is going to go down in history already, we may be certain of it, as the era of Guantanamo. That is the one word, I'm certain, that's going to be remembered 30 years down the road. And if we don't watch ourselves, in Ireland, this era will not be remembered for the Celtic Tiger, which will have blown up in everyone's face long before then, but for the decision of a government and a people to let go something that is integral to its very being. And the name associated with that will be Tara.